All right, so we wanted to focus on what makes Scorpion different and what makes us stand out and what makes our product superior to a lot of the offerings in the market. We do everything 100% in-house, all US sourced materials. So everything is manufactured here in our Ocala, Florida facility. The only thing we don't do under this roof is our heat treat. That goes either to Atlanta or Daytona Beach, depending on the process required for that specific component. Everything else is done 100% in-house. We've been making rocker arms in-house for 25 years now. We do a lot of private label manufacturing, so a lot of people in the industry don't know exactly how much we do as far as valve train and aftermarket and racing components are concerned. We make more rocker arms and more valve train components for other companies than we do for ourselves, so it may seem like we're smaller than we actually are. We make more rocker arms per year than any other rocker arm manufacturer in the aftermarket racing and high performance industry. We focus a lot on design and development. We work directly with OEs in both marine and automotive. And we actually work with a lot of our direct competitors as well in the aftermarket industry, helping them develop products and also manufacturing them for them as well. So you may see Scorpion as a small slice of the pie in the aftermarket, but we actually have a very big footprint. Just a lot of it is behind closed doors and isn't very pronounced. So we do everything 100% in-house. We also incorporate a lot of aerospace quality management principles into our manufacturing processes, which some in the industry may see as overkill. It's actually not, though. You can never be too careful, too cautious, and too meticulous when it comes to racing engines and internal components. So we actually have a first article and final article process for every job that's run. We have full traceability on all of the components, all of the operators, all of the machining centers, all the assemblies that go into each rocker set. So if anything does happen in the field or we need to narrow down a certain situation or a certain variable, we have all the information in front of us to be able to do that, all the way back to raw material lots, heat treat lots, and dates of manufacturing, operators, tooling, every variable that would need to be known to be able to solve a problem or answer a question related to a specific rocker assembly. We have all that data on hand for every rocker we've made. We also do that as well for all of our private label offerings for other competitors and also OEs. A lot of the OEs come with their own requirements as well. And a couple of the things that we've learned over the past 2 decades in working with OEs, a lot of the quality requirements and a lot of the testing and validation and design validation requirements carry over into our performance offerings as well. So even though it's not a rocker arm that may go into a couple million production vehicles, we still have the same quality principles and standards and requirements as it would if it was going into a production vehicle with those requirements in it as well. So we use, for our rocker bodies, a 7000 series aluminum alloy. All of our rocker bodies are made from either billet or extrusion. We don't use any forgings, any castings, anything like that. And these are all 7000 series. It's the highest strength alloy possible for the application, performs better at operating temperature, and it does very well. So we use this alloy specifically because of its properties for the application. It's a lot stronger than a lot of the competitors' offerings. And our aluminum rocker assemblies, on average, are about 20 to 50 grams lighter than a lot of the stainless steel and steel offerings that our competitors have as well for the same applications. As far as the steel components in our rocker assemblies, we use all what they call AQ/BQ steels, which are aerospace quality and bearing quality. They have a more refined grain structure in the metal, which makes it stronger. There's less residual stresses in it. And after heat treatment, all of our steel components go through a deep freeze to allow the part to continue that transformation to make sure that the grain structure is more refined and more fine. You don't have a larger grain structure, you have a more fine grain structure. Therefore, there's not going to be as many residual stresses or any potential for any stress concentrations to occur within the core of the part. So it makes a stronger part overall. All of our steel components are made in-house as well, just like the aluminum body. We use Swiss turn lathes, CNC lathes, and they were actually developed to make watch parts for Swiss watchmakers for very fine, small, very tight tolerance parts, so they hold tolerance very well. And we've used those for years and never had any issues with quality on that. Outside of the AQ/BQ materials, our axles or pins that mate with the roller on the valve side of the rocker assembly are what they call a 52-100 100 carbon material. It's actually a bearing material, so it's made for needle rollers in bearing assemblies and things of that nature that are going into very high stress, high load applications. So that's what we use for our axles. All the rest are either 4140, which we use for our polylocks, and 8620, which we use for all of the other components in the rocker assembly itself. The trunnions, the rollers, the push rod seats, the adjusters, those are all 8620, as well as the shafts that go into the shaft rocker assemblies as well. Another couple things that I wanted to discuss We make sure that all of our rocker assemblies, whether it's a shaft mount, a pedestal mount, a stud mount, are all deburred and all edges are either radiused or chamfered, because the worst thing you could have happen is to have a part perfect dimensionally, but have a sharp edge on it, and that allows a stress concentration to potentially occur, where that sharp edge is going to concentrate more stress than a rounded edge. So that's why all of our parts, you can pick up one that you have in your hand, you can look at the pictures online, or you can see them here in the video. They all have rounded corners or chamfered edges, especially around the high stress areas, and that makes sure that there's no stress concentrations, because of all of our years of experience, we have seen that what occurs is normally there's a sharp edge or a burr or something where a crack initiates or a stress is concentrated that becomes a failure mode. So that is one way that we eliminate any potential for failure modes that we've seen in the past with other products or just with developmental testing to see exactly what the weak points of certain designs may be. In addition to that, we also make sure that we keep a precise fit between mating components, so between the pin and the roller, between the bearings or the bushings and the trunnion or the shaft. We make sure that that tolerance range from its tightest fit to its loosest fit, or its minimum material condition to its maximum material condition, incorporates all the potentials for failure to make sure that within that window we have an additional cushion between the upper and lower control limits of our process and what the actual upper and lower limits would be acceptable range. So we make sure that we have a tighter window for those fits and tolerances than what actually the application would allow, so that way we have an additional factor of safety built into our design to make sure that we're not ever on the edge one way or the other of potentially causing a failure or a stress concentration in the design itself. And finally, because of all the manufacturing and quality controls that we have on our processes, we do offer a lifetime warranty on all the products we manufacture. So that means if anything happens, even if it's a potential defect or you hear something funny, you feel something funny, something doesn't seem to measure right, even if it's not an outright failure, you can contact us and get a hold of us and ask us exactly what may be going on, and we will give you an RGA number to send the product back to us, and then we will actually inspect it, do a full analysis on it. If it is something that's failed in the field, whether it's related to the rocker itself or whether that's just collateral damage from another failure in the valve train itself, we will do a full failure analysis on it, including metallurgical analysis as well, to determine exactly what the failure mode was that part had seen, and we will replace them free of charge, regardless of the age of the rocker, whether you bought them from a distributor, whether you bought them online, whether you bought them direct from us. Either way, it's 100% lifetime warranty, no questions asked. All we ask is that you contact us and you give us a few days to be able to perform that analysis work and get the actual answers and perform a root cause analysis as to what caused that failure to happen. A, so we can understand and better anything that we may be able to on our side of the fence, and B, we can eliminate any variables and any potential future failures with your specific application and your setup if there is another factor in your engine application that may be a component in that failure. So 100% lifetime warranty. We stand behind everything we make, and the reason we stand behind everything we make is because we make it so that it does not fail and it outlives any expectations that the customer may have. In addition to that, just to be 100% transparent, we make over 300,000 rocker assemblies a year, and we get fewer than 500 back with questions. And not all of those 500 are component failures. Some of those 500 are just for inspection because the rocker arms have seen 2 seasons of use in a circle track application, and they're refreshing the engine. They want everything to be inspected to make sure they can bolt them back on again. So that's a very small percentage of the volume that we make that we actually see back, and not all of that percentage is actually for a failure. A lot of it is just for routine inspection to make sure it's still safe to put back in use. Thank you.